Hi there again, everybody. It's Karen from Vintage Style Journals. Just coming back to you with part 5 of my lovely little paper bag journal here. And just wanted to give you an update on the outcome of my last little painting. I decided to, just see if I can move that in a little bit, decided to do a stamp around the edge here. That's all I did. Pretty much I had a little stamp that I found and I've put a permanent ink on the stamp and actually just stamped either side. I'm going to leave it like that for now, and then I'll come back in the end when I'm going to put some extra bits and pieces in the journal and just, you know, tidy up around the page here. I've also had a little bit of a crazy time the other day. I had this dress that it was a long dress, and I just got a little bit tired, but it made me look so big because it was real hippie kind of flowy sort of dress. So what I did was I chopped off part of the dress and I came up with this bit of material, and look at this, it just matches perfectly with the color of her dress here. It just really blends in beautifully. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to pop that on the other side of the page when I get to actually putting some bits and pieces in the journal. So yeah, my dress is a little bit shorter than it was before. And yeah, so I thought that is ideal. That's just the perfect colour for the journal. So I'll use that in there later on. But just starting on the next page, what I've done is I've actually got a line drawing of my Romeo and Juliet painting, and I'm going to put this on here. And you're probably saying to yourself, oh my goodness, that's just too much work to do if you're working along with me. But you know, it's going to be worth it because you're going to have something a little bit more special than normal. And once you trace this design on, all you need to do really is get your brush markers out and go around the lines with the brush markers. I'm going to actually paint it on, but you know, I think the brush markers are the way to go if you're not inclined to spend a lot of time painting. And I've put a picture up of this on my blog at Vintage Style Journals /blog or .com's /blog. The link is actually in the video description anyways. So there's a picture up there of this actual design in the original colours. I'm going to bring up the original for you in a minute so you can see how I've painted it. But this is just a line drawing of the same picture that you can print up and use yourself. I'm sorry I didn't put it in sepia this time, so I'm hopeful that I'll go around it with my biro and I won't get lost as to where I've been. But yeah, it's going to be a long process, so I'm probably going to do a little bit at a time, turn the camera off, do a little bit more, and so that hopefully the video is not going to be so long for you. But just long enough to give you insight as to how to paint it or even shade it with your brush markers if that's the way you're going. So I'm just going to grab the original picture that I painted and bring it up for you. This is it here. I might just have to push the camera back a little bit, so bear with me. Hopefully I won't drop the camera. So this is the original design. It's just a toile design of Romeo and Juliet pretty much. I had this up on the wall in a frame and I just took it out because the frame fell off the wall at some point. So in the end I just said to my hubby, oh look, I'll just leave it down. So I've taken the painting out. But yeah, she's quite an interesting painting, as you can see. So that's what I've taken this particular design of. Look at that, it's gorgeous. I love the colours. It's all just 1 or 2 shades of reds, I suppose, like a crimson-y type of red. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be painting, something similar to that on here. I've made the designer an awful lot smaller, as you can see, so it can fit into the book. I just might bring that camera down a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do on the pages. Sorry, the camera's wobbling a bit. I just want to get it in the right spot so I'm not going to lose you completely, as you can see what I'm doing. I'll start off with the design and just, I thought I might, I've got the plain pages here, but obviously this is going to buckle over, so I've been trying to figure out where exactly I'm going to put the design. I'll just remove that. This is the Starroll paper that I use. It's a gorgeous tracing type carbon, which doesn't really get all over the place like your old-fashioned carbon paper does. So don't use that stuff because it's a nightmare to use. It's not meant to be used for art. And you can obviously draw over this particular paper. But yes, so I've just sort of tried to figure out where I'm going to put it. I did actually have I printed out a sepia type of colour of the design before. And I just love that, so I think I'm going to keep that and do something else with that sometime. But I've made it slightly larger than that. I thought it looks nice, but it looks a bit small to me, so I want this a little bit bigger so it's easier to actually paint. If you're using the brushes or, you know, the brush pens, then you'll probably find it much easier to work with those. If you're not a painter, that is. So yeah, I've just sort of, I know I'm going to have it in the middle here, and that can be a little bit of a pest to paint, but I want the whole design. I'm not too fussed about this edge here. That can stay off the page, but I wanted mostly this design, and I love that rose there. I didn't want to lose that, or this one here. So yeah, I'm going to get started on tracing that, and so I'll just put my paper underneath and get going on it and see how it can go. With this stuff, by the way, it's good if you're not sure which side is which. The shiny side is not the side that you put down on the page. You put the matte, it's more of a matte side. Make sure you put the right side down if you've got this stuff, because I've traced over a design in the past and it's been a really big design, and only to find that I just traced over the back of the page. So I was using the wrong side. So what I've done is I've put a little squiggle in the corner just so that I know which side I can put down and which side I should have up. So I'm just going to fit this into my design here so I can trace over it, getting in the corner there just so that I don't miss this rose. I think I'm going to have to hold that down there. It's going to go a little bit around the corner, so it's going to be interesting if nothing else. Just want to grab my flatten a pen, flatten thingy, whatever they call them. I can never remember the name of this thing. Someone help me out. Alrighty. So I'm using just a black pen again, and I'm just going to start on this side, work my way over so that I can kind of get a gist of where I'm going if I can't see my pen. Obviously your pen's going to be a little bit more shiny on the lines anyway, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Always start, if you're right-handed, start on the left-hand side. You'll find that working your way across or working your way down, you won't get too lost. So here we go. Oh yeah, I can see my pen quite easily, even though it's blackish on the other side. It's more of a grey, really dark grey. So I won't be going over it too much. I'm not going to go over all of this and make you watch me, but if you're working along with me, just print up the design from my blog and get it on. And then we'll start painting it once I get it all all on. So I'll just go over this rose. You can see what it looks like on the... Still not ideal having it in the black colour, so if you can actually print it out in sepia, you probably do better. You'll be able to see where you've been more easily. And you know, the bottom line is it doesn't matter if you have to go over it twice just to be able to see the thing, you know, to get all the lines on. What you don't want to do is miss some of the lines. Just going to go over. It's going to go into the crack there, so I'm mindful I'll probably end up tearing my paper here. If you don't want to make life difficult for yourself the way I have here, just put it on a plain open piece of paper, trace it onto that, onto your journal. If you might be working with a bigger size journal as well, so it'll probably work out better for you. I just sort of wanted the design a little bit bigger than what I had printed it up from my original painting. So I'll just have a look at that and just make sure that it's, yeah, see, that's going on beautifully even on that brown tape. So not too shabby. So I'll just turn it up and keep the light on it. I haven't gone across here. I think I've got it all. Yep. So yeah, just work your way through. I'm not going to work my way through while you're on with me. I'm just going to turn off the camera and come back once I've put it on. What a painstaking thing that was to do. So as you can see, I've actually traced my design on here. It took me about a half an hour. Be worth it in the long run. I'm going to keep with the tone of the book here, and I'm going to probably do it in a red tone. What I might do is to put some a brighter red on rather than a darker red, not like the other ones. So I'll just get my extra brighter red. So I'm going to be using cadmium scarlet mixed in with some purple madder. The reason I sound funny is because I've got a brush in my mouth. Sorry about that. I'm just giving my paint a bit of a shake here because I haven't used it in a while, the cadmium scarlet. I'm just going to pop some of that on my palette. Come on, out you come. I'm going to mix it with the purple madder, just so that it's not a dark red necessarily, as I'm just doing the lining of the outline of the actual design here. What I've done also is I've popped some liquefying medium or flow medium. I'm using the Italia one, which is made by Chroma as well, just a different brand really, but same sort of thing. So the flow medium is going to give me a lovely flow without removing any of the colour. I'm just trying to mix up my paint here, so bear with me while I mix it up. I just want to test what colour I've got there. It's kind of like an orange. Oh, I don't like that colour. Okay, keep moving forward. I've mixed some of the cadmium scarlet with the purple madder, and I'm coming up with a really interesting colour here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go with it or not. Could be the medium just making it look worse than what it is. Just have a little look here. Yeah, probably not the colour I was going for. I'll just wipe that off my brush. In fact, I'll use a smaller brush. It looks a little bit thicker than I wanted. So I'm just using a very fine liner brush again. I'll just have a bit of a squiz here. I think I'll have to go dark. I'm not happy with the paint here, the colour that I'm making myself, which is very, very annoying. I thought I would have this colour perfect, but I think the purple matters made it a strange sort of colour, but I didn't want bright red either, so what to do. Right, decided to go with a Naphthol Crimson, which is pretty much a lovely tone of red without being super, super bright. So just going to start doing the lines in, and yeah, then what we'll do after I've done the lines in is we'll start to shade it. Just going back to having a quick look at this one, you can see where all the shading is. I'm going to shade that, but I want to do all the liner work in first. So if you're painting along with me, try not to be too stressed out. Just go get your brushes or your brush pens and start putting some lines in just over top of where you've done the lines with the carbon. Just want to make sure that you have your brush nice and wet, like inky consistency if you're using a brush. If you're using the brush pens, just use the little fine tip on one end of the pen and just sort of go over where all the drawing is. I know it's a really big task, but it'll be really worth it in the long run because you're going to have a super looking picture here. I'm not going to keep the camera on for all the liner work, but I'm just going to show you some of the technique that I use. I'm using the liner brush, as I said earlier, and I've got an inky consistency here. But what I do is I press and I lift so that it's not just one straight line or just the same thickness of line. So I'm lifting up very, very fine on some parts and I'm pressing on others, just so that you've got a little bit of interest, I suppose, is what I'm looking for. And when this is all shaded in, it's going to look absolutely fabulous. So, yeah, just fire away and get started if you're working with me. I think this is going to be the trickiest part, this part here. So I might just turn the camera off and do that in a minute and come back. So yeah, just lift your brush, use a light touch if you're using it, and then just press down every now and then. It doesn't have to be perfect, and if you go over the lines, it doesn't really matter. It's still going to look great. Good if you can sort of stay over the lines so that you're not having to rub out anything later on after you've done the painting or the drawing in. Just going to go back over this colour here, just to do matchy match. And if you're doing the veins on the leaves, just do them starting off at the beginning in the middle here, not this way, but this way from here, and that way you get a nice fine tip on them when you pull it out. If you start that way, you're going to get a nice square edge on it, and you don't want that. So just I'm just trying to move my page around so it's easier to see. Just press down, lift up, press and lift. Don't really have to press much. You can see that I can keep moving along with my liner brush because it's the length of the brush is loaded with paint, so you don't have to keep coming back all the time to get more paint on your brush. You should have enough paint to at least do one nice big long line. So like I've done there. You can see I've kind of wobbled it around, I've pressed a little bit and I've lifted a little bit. And that just, again, just adds interest. It always looks better in the end. It's just a matter of me being able to see my lines here. So, because it's going on the brown, It's a little bit more tricky to see down here, even though I've got a really good light. Press down, lift up a bit. See how I've sort of made that a little bit thicker in places. Once the shading goes in, you're going to love it. I'll just finish off this and then I'll turn the camera off and come back in a minute when I, whoops, picked up a bit of yellow off my palette there. Whoa, naughty girl. I'll just get that off my brush. I've got all my paints sort of sitting very close to each other on the palette now. I've been a little bit stingy-mingy and just put, just kept loading up my palette and keeping all my paint. I probably should have got rid of some of it. Now I'm just looking at the original just to see where I'm going here, because it's a little bit hard to see on the brown. Doesn't matter, I can make it up as I go. Just I think leaving the brown tape there will add a little bit of interest to it as well. It's not gonna be the norm. All right, getting there slowly. It is a painstaking thing to do, so if you're not into painting, that's okay. But yeah, get your brush pens, or even if you've got some really fine point markers, would be ideal for this type of work. I'm not going to put toile designs all throughout this. You'll be very happy to know. But they do make a lovely change from just your typical painting. So, you know, if you want to have a go, you'll be really thrilled with the outcome. I think I'm going to ad-lib a little bit underneath there because it's going to be hard to get the brush down. Small though it is. Got a little bit of a croaky voice at the moment, so sorry about that. Not sure where that one's going under there, but it don't matter. It don't matter. I'll just play it by ear, just mucking around with it here. Just trying to see it from my original. Would you believe my camera just went off while I was halfway through talking, so just picking it up again, just keeping on working with the lines. I've actually painted in over here, just kind of ad-libbing a little bit. Can't see the design because it's gone under, but that's all right. This is very therapeutic. I enjoy doing it, and yeah, just trying to see where things are going here. Some of the lines are a little bit not missing, but not as clear as I probably should have them. And see, by inking up or painting up the brush or putting plenty on, you're going to have good use of it. So you're going to be able to move your brush around with the actual paint on it without having to dip back into your palette and load up again. That's the beauty of the length and the inky consistency. It all works together and makes it great. So this is going to be a bit of a job. Look forward to seeing who's going to actually get this. And you can see how much work's gone into it, and you better enjoy it, because if you don't, oh my goodness, it'd be hard to please probably. But yeah, I really love painting, so it's been a real pleasure to actually put some decent, gorgeous designs in for you, whoever you may be. mad-libbing over here because the design's cut off at the tip or at the edge here. So I'm just sort of putting some squiggles and doodles in there, and it'll look all right. Trying to follow my design around is a little bit crazy, really. There's so much in this. It's such a busy sort of pattern. And I'm not putting the little strokes in yet. I'll go in and do those later on to give the shape to the rose bowls and everything. I'll probably go in, yeah, after I do the shading on that and do those. Yeah, so just keep firing away, keep persevering, and see what gorgeousness we come up with. So I think there's I missed a flower or something in there, but that doesn't matter. It'll still look fabulous. There's something in there happening, but I'll have a look at my design later. I'll come back to that later on the brown, and just keep working away with this. But yeah, so if you are painting, don't forget, just put some interest in like pressing and lifting, and so it's not all together perfectly, you know, uniform type lines. And you'll see what I mean once the shading's in. Yeah, just will look nice, much nicer, much more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Even if you're using the brush pens, you can do that. You can just sort of press down a little bit if you want some of these nice little, you know, thicker areas. Just press slightly on those those brush markers, because they do give you a nice wide brush stroke if you want it. Just putting a few little lines in there. Don't ask me why, I'm just doing it. I think this is a rose. It'll be made clear in a minute. When it's all shaded, you'll see it. A bit tricky to see what part's what at the moment. Even the leaves, I think, oh, is that a leaf or is that a petal? I don't know. We can make it either, but yeah, better if you know what they are to start with. Okay, I'm going to just finish this baby here off, and I'll turn off the camera and come back when all the lines have been put in for you. I did this on my table here, and obviously with a little bit of a bigger brush because the design's a little bit bigger. That's why I stretched this one out a little bit, because when I printed up the design that I have on my blog, it was a little bit small, and I thought, oh, I can do it, but I don't really want to, because the smaller the design, the more tricky it is to, particularly using a liner brush, because it's so finicky. And I do have other smaller brushes than this, believe it or not, but I think it's just much better to have a little bit of a bigger design, probably easier to paint bigger than smaller. For all those wonderful people that do miniatures, it's not as easy as it looks. You know, I've painted a couple of watch faces and found that was a little bit tricky. I had to use a very, very small brush to do those. Put some beautiful native flowers in a watch face. Used to sell them online. I've given up doing that. Not for any particular reason, just because they're a lot of work and for very little return on them, I suppose. So I think that's pretty much the rose there. So I might just turn off the camera and come back after I've put all the liner in. Alrighty, so I've finished doing the liner brush work using my very small little liner here, all cleaned up, and I just thought what I'll do is I'll rub out the pencil marks, or actually it's the carbon paper marks. I'll just rub those out before I go any further. Some of them, you know, I've kind of ignored a little bit and, and actually just put the paint on around them as I saw fit. So I'll just go in with my trusty little needle eraser here. This is a great eraser. Many artists use this sort of thing, and really it's a moldable thing, so you can get into tight areas if you need. But yeah, they're a good quality type of eraser. They'll take off most pencil marks where you don't want them. And yeah, I just figured I'd just go over it a little bit and take a lot of them off before I put the shading in, because once I put the actual shading in, it's going to go over if there's any pencil marks there. It doesn't really matter, but I prefer them not to be as bold as what I've made them. So even if I take a good majority of the lead look, if you like, away before I put the shading on, because once I put the shading on, that'll be it. They're there for good. I can't do anything about them. So it's best to just go over your work and rub back anything that you don't want there. My paint is obviously very dry. You wouldn't do this with wet paint, obviously, for reasons that are obvious. So yeah, just wipe away any marks that you don't want on there before you start putting your shading in. I'm going to be using the Magic Mix, which has got a bit of an extender time, so that while I'm painting, it's not actually going to dry so quickly. It'll give me a bit of a moment to be able to work. And just, I don't know whether you noticed when I painted this little woman here, when I was doing the dress, I actually kept brushing over the same spot. Well, that was because I had plenty of medium on my brush. You wouldn't normally do that with just the paint, because what you would do if you're brushing over continually where you are, particularly with an acrylic type of paint, you will lift up what you've put under beforehand. So you can't just keep going over the same area with acrylic paint, because your bottom layer will actually start lifting. Unless, of course, it's dry and you're putting another layer on. But the reason I could play around with that and sort of brush and brush and brush it, that sounded a bit ridiculous, 3 brushes in a row. Anyway, yeah, so if you keep brushing at it, it will lift. But because I'm putting the medium on my brush to help me out with the shading, the glaze medium will actually help with that. It'll keep the paint time open a little bit longer, so I can actually play around with it a little bit if I want to. So yeah, I'm not sure how this brown is going to look with the shading, because I think to get a really good overall picture, I think not having the brown there would have been ideal in hindsight. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do it anyway, because it's a unique little piece. And yeah, I'm just going to see what it looks like, and you'll see what it looks like, and you can decide what you're going to do, whether you're going to actually, see some more lines there, whether you're actually going to paint it all white behind before you start. Now I'm just going to show you what I'm doing here, and then I'm going to probably paint in the good majority of it off camera, so that you're not stuck with me and getting bored. So I'm just using my angle shader. I'm going to be using mostly the tip of the shader, just so that I can get in where I need to. It's probably a little bit big for this particular size, but it's the only one I could find that, you know, I'm happy with. So I'm just going to load up the brush and just pretty much place the paint with the Magic Mix. You could use a retarder medium, or you could use a glaze medium. All of those will do something similar. The Magic Mix is almost like having a retarder medium and glaze medium all in one. So you're going to be able to get a lovely, well, I'll just start showing you, shall I? So I'm just, you can see I've only got the tip of the brush loaded here. So I'm just going to flatten it down and come around the base. And you can see that it's actually given a slide of colour here, but then it's faded off over to the side where there's not a lot of paint. It's probably got more paint on it than it needs to, and so I'm just going to do the same thing here, just pressing down, coming around. This is because this is the bowl, and this is where the petals meet the outer petals. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of form by doing it this way. I pretty much play it by ear. It just depends where I feel like I want to put the paint at the time. I try to do this so that at least these petals here will stand up a little bit. They'll stand out. I've missed the petal on here because of the actual brown tape and the curve in the actual journal. So I'm just going to sort of wing it really and paint under there. I'm trusting that if you've done the same thing as me, then you'll recognise that it's a little bit tricky going around the underneath. And it doesn't matter because you won't see that. But what does matter is that this petal here should be white probably, just to lift it forward. And so just pressing and dragging here as well. Not so that there's a line so much, but just so that it separates the petals. I think I've got a petal here, which I thought was a leaf, but it's not, it's a petal. I'm just flattening out the brush, trying to grab some medium as I go, just to keep that open. I want the colour to swim down the petal a little bit more than that. I might even come back in later and make these darker. It just depends how it looks in the long run. So yeah, just working my way towards the center of the flower, and it's coming in here, not shading every petal all the way up. I want to leave that white there. All of that should have been white, I think. I'll know better next time. So if you haven't done this already and you're going to play along with me, then make sure your flowers have got the white on them instead of the just the colour from the tape. I'll just go dark on the inside because that's how they typically look. Just work it out as you go, which petals should be standing out more. As I said earlier, it's not perfect. It's not meant to be. It's just, you know, your thing. But a toile design doesn't normally have too much shading in it anyway. I'm going to go a little bit darker under here in a minute. I don't want to dirty up my paintbrush, but I'll just show you for the sake of showing you. I'm just taking some darker red, some purple madder, and I'm just blending it with a little bit of the glaze medium on my palette there. I'm just going to go in here because it's a leaf. I want it to look a little bit different to what the rose petals are. So I'm just sort of popping a bit of darker colour in there, and I'll do that for all the leaves. I'll make them all the same colour, just so that they stand out a little bit. I think these are all leaves under here. I've made a bit of a hodgepodge of it, but this is a turnover here. I'll just make that a little bit darker under there. All right, and this leaf behind here can go dark all the way. If you're painting it and you want it to stand backwards, you know, like go into the background, all you would need to do is actually make that particular section darker. So I'll just go over that again a little bit more so you can see what I've done. So just standing it backwards. If you want it in the front, you would go a little bit lighter. I'll just darken this one up a bit while I've got that colour on my brush. Okay, so that's how it's going to roll. I'm going to put the roses in this colour, which is the purple madder with the glaze medium, not glaze medium, the magic mix. You could use glaze medium, it would do something similar. I'm going to just take a couple of these petals and make them look a little bit sharper. Just pretty much using the chisel edge of the brush there, just so that it's not all the same. I'm going a little bit darker there, maybe a little bit darker along here as well. And I can do that because of the open time of the paint with the medium on it. If you were just using water, then you could do it, but you'd have to work more quickly, just so that you don't lift up your paint as you go. Because acrylic's wonderful. It's a great paint, and it does dry quickly, and that's the beauty of it. But in doing that, it actually stops you from being able to, you know, like continue to go over things. So I'm just looking for some more leaves while I've got the darker colour here. So we'll just go over. All right, there you are. And flattening it out, pressing, and just lift it up onto the chisel edge. You can come down the middle as well. And that's all you need. You can paint the whole leaf in if you want, but there's no need to paint it all in. It's your choosing, Daisy. You get to pick what you want to do there. I'm just going to go a little bit darker, put that leaf behind this one. I want that one in the background a little bit more. Same with these leaves over here. It's simple, just one stroke is all you need. I tend to go over things if I'm not happy with them, so I'll, you know, probably put a couple of brush marks in there and try and bring it back, because that's a turn over there. That's why I'm sort of coming around there. Right, so there's a couple of leaves. So I think I'll just go over and do all the leaves, and then I'll come back. Now the leaves are done. I think that's all I could find on the picture anyway. So what I might do is just start on the other roses and pretty much just go ahead and do what I've done before. I'm going to leave all the other bits and pieces until I've done the roses. But what you want to do is you want to go at the base of the rose and make that, all those petals there that are coming off the base of that bowl there, I'm going to make them all dark. I'm going to come around this back one here first. So I've just got the red on my brush now, which is your Naphthol Crimson, and I'm just going to go around the base, pressing down, go across all of them. Won't matter. You can swim it out as much as you like. Just really tricky design, really, to see where to put the colour, because there are so many petals, and I'm trying to look at my original design and do it similarly. And across the bottom here, this one's standing up, so it doesn't matter if you're swimming across your brush and it's coming out into a nice pinky sort of tone there. I think that looks better than just having the white. I might even go over that one just to give it a bit more colour up the top. Just pressing down, adding a little bit of pink over that white. Looks a bit stark to me. It's not really pink, it's actually the red on the Naphthol Crimson, but just because of the glaze, the medium on it, the Magic Mix, I can sort of get a little bit more colour there. Yeah, so it's not really rocket science, like I continue to say, and I don't mean to make it seem like it's easy, because it's not. But you know, just take your time and just get some colour on. If you muck it up, don't worry, because you can actually take it off while it's still reasonably wet. You can take it off with some Q-tips that have been watered, or put some water on them. But also, you know, don't forget your baby wipes. Are handy little things to use if you're making mistakes. They can be quite helpful to have handy. Yeah, so just trying to figure out my way around here. I think that's the back petals are here. So we'll put those a little bit darker towards the back. Once it's all painted in, you'll see it'll look quite pretty. But yeah, I think that's all I need to do on that rose. I'll go and do this one. This is a nightmare one for me because I can't see for the life of me where things are going because of the little bend. So I'm hoping that I don't muck it up too much. Just putting some colour on really, just to make it look like it's been looked after and is just as important as everything else. I think these are the outer petals, so I'll just go around the base of those. Picked up yellow on my brush. Gee, that's my palette. I'm just very naughty. I've got too much paint on my palette at the moment. I wasn't quite watching. I was watching here instead of on my palette. I just cleaned my brush and getting some more medium and paint on it. It'd be shocking if I put yellow on it. My goody aunt, that would be really quite not cool. I'd have to really work hard to get it off. Just going darker towards the centre there. I think I'm going to leave that for now. Come back to this little beauty over here. I've got quite a wet brush now. Just if you start at the front petals and work your way back, you'll probably find it easier and you won't be putting your paintbrush where you've been. So I might just start here at these petals here. Can always go over later and do it much darker. I love the way that paper, the gesso behind it. Can you see the little pattern it's put on it? That's just because I didn't sand the gesso. I just whacked it on over top of the brown paper bag. So it's left a nice little, almost like little branches or something there. But I like it and I'm going to keep it. So yeah, I did the front bowl first. I'll just maybe go in the middle here. Needs to be darker there, darker there. Darker all around the middle. And this is obviously coming this way, so we'll go on the end there. Just take a bit of that off there. And I'm just going to go in one fell swoop all the way around here. Just pressing down, coming around. Continue to press your brush flat. There you go, rock on. It's a little bit watery because I had to wash my brush out. I didn't sort of remove a lot of the water off it, but that's okay. I just want to go back in here a bit darker because they're petals that are going backwards, so I want to make them stand out a bit more as if they are going backwards, and so the darker the paint. And this one here. I think I might need to go back over this in a minute because it was quite watery. It sort of swam across a little bit. It's not as soft as I wanted it there, but you can kind of tell that that's a rose or a flower of some description. I think I've got too much paint on my brush now. Just washing it out. The good thing about blending on a palette with your brush is that you don't need to keep dipping into the paint necessarily because you'll have plenty of paint on your brush. So I'm going to go and do the bowl again here, pressing down, pressing flat. Come around with the shape as you're painting. And then I'm going to go around this little curl over here. And that's sort of lifting that up a little bit. And I still need to come around the side of the bowl just so that you can see what's going on. It's a little bit of a wobbly bowl, this one. I'll just bring some of that colour up a bit. You know, truthfully, you can just leave it with the red, the Naphthol Crimson colour in the liner work. You can just leave it like that if you prefer it. I like to shade things in a little bit so that it gives them a bit of form. And it looks more like a, you know, more loved painting. I'm going to go to the centre, just make that all dark, come across the top here. You can obviously use a brush that's fit for the size of your work. Mine's a little bit big for this, but I'm okay with that because I can just use the tip of the brush. But if you're not confident, get a brush that's suitable to the size of your painting. You will find it much easier to work with. All right, I think I missed a leaf over here by the looks of it. It's just quite dark. I might come back to that. Oh, and I missed part of the leaf under here with the darker tone. I mean, I could do it at any time, but I'll come back and do those later because this is the colour. The only colour that you need on your brush at the moment is the Naphthol Crimson. Yeah, just keep painting away, plodding away until you're finished. The chickie baby here and the dude are probably a little bit more tricky to paint because you want to shape them appropriately. So her arm is sitting forward on her body. So what I need to do is come back around the outside of that arm just to sit that forward. So I might do that now. I'll just start in here. Probably put some deeper shade on there later. A bit too much there. Actually, I think I've got too much paint on my brush to do any further up there, so I'll just come underneath the arm here and that'll stand it forward. See, I'm flattening the brush right down and that colour is swimming all the way across. So you can see her arm has actually come forward, and while that's still wet, I'm just going to shape a butt there like that. You can still, you know, do some bits on here if you want to have that more of a coloured kind of dress, I suppose. And I'm going to come around the base of this because I want to sit that rose forward. So what I'm going to have to do is actually get some more colour, the darker colour, which is your well, I've actually used purple madder here, so I'm just going to come around here and that's going to push that rose forward. I've got the purple madder on my brush now and just press down, come around. Just gives it a bit of shading around there, makes that rose pop out. In fact, I might do it under the arm as well, just to make it sort of stand forward a little bit better. Oh dear, I'm just going to have to keep going now. While I've got this colour on, I'm gonna go around and get this bowl standing forward as well. It just makes it look interesting and not all the same red, just by having a bit of the darker tone in there. And I'll do the same with this little baby over here. Just sort of go in here. It doesn't have to be uniformly all the way around, but just, yeah, it just adds interest. Look at that. I like it. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep painting on this one, and I'll come back when it's done. All right, most of it's painted. Just going to get some more paint on my brush here, finish off a little bit more. It's looking a little bit loud. I'm happy with the way that it looks. Still got to do this rose here, but I thought I'll come over here and just do Juliet's face. Just sort of give her, and that's sort of putting whatever bonnet or whatever that thing is there. and just come under her chin. Oh, looks like she's got a hairy chin there. My brush was splayed open a bit. Just soften that down. I think probably more paint than medium on my brush at the moment. But I wanted to show you these little flowers. So what I tend to do with these is just, even though it's quite light in the picture, I'm going to probably go a little bit darker just to match up with the rest of what I've got here. So just point the toe of the brush towards the center, and then just tiny little dabs across towards the center. So using the toe of your brush, I'll show you probably easier on this one. There's still a lot of liner work to do on this at the moment, but we'll get some of these painted off just so that you've got some colour on them. Don't be too worried about being perfect with it. It's just really enough to add a bit more interest to the, and see I've just kept that one lot of paint. I haven't had to go back. Oh, picked up some black again. I think that's what I did the other day with my when I was doing that other chicky baby's eye. I dipped into the black on the edge of my brush, which wasn't really cool because it put a black smear on it. But yeah, just with all these little flowers, just little dabs here towards the center. That's all you need to do. I might put some actually that's too dark. I don't want it that dark. Just adding some more of the medium just to lighten up the paint so that it's not too dark and stark on the little petals. Always point your toe of your brush towards the center so that you can add the colour. Let's leave a little bit of white. When I painted this originally, I painted it on a background colour that was an interesting colour, more like a clotted cream kind of look. And I liked it because it's not stark white like this is. I still feel that the white is a good palette to paint on the natural colour of the red tones. You can see it's not taking much effort here. Some of these things I'm going to leave, like for instance the leaves, these little leaves here, I'm going to leave those, won't put any colour on them at all. All right, I'm going to go back to the dude and just put some colour on the back of his hair there, just to give him a bit of a shape about his head. And this little sash going over the shoulder here, that doesn't really need any colour on it. But I think this part here might be his arm leaning backwards. And just make that clear. Go under the chin. And I don't know, I don't think I need any more on him. Go back over to her shoulder here, just so that it's not completely white. Just putting some dabs of colour on there. I'm going to paint her arms as well. I'm on the inside of this one. Hands are kind of funky. That doesn't matter. Go under here. I think it's just a matter of looking at your lines where they all are and just seeing where you need some colour. Step back from it and have a bit of a squeeze if you're not sure, because I find that if I sort of squint my eyes, you know how you squint when it's sunny outside, if you just do that you can actually have a really good look at the light and the dark, because you don't want it all looking the same. Nearly done, I reckon, on there. I think that'll do there. And I'm just going to go over these leaves here with the same mix. Just add a little bit more medium to it because I don't want it super dark red. So it's just a matter of one little stroke. Press your brush down, go across, do it again. Don't have to colour them in perfectly. You can leave them white if you prefer, or leave them the background colour rather. Don't forget to follow the shape of the actual leaf around. You can see how quickly I'm doing this. I'm really going like a bull at a gate, as I do with a lot of stuff. But I'm okay with that. I think, you know, it's not going to be super duper perfect because it's so small. It's hard to be specific with it, I think. You can see where I've missed a couple of little flowers. I think that can stay like that. I'll put a bit of colour up here. A bit more over here. I'm not really liking the brown tape as it is. I think I might just do these flowers in here and I'll be done. I love to paint these little nothing type flowers because you can make it up as you go. You can put some beautiful little liner strokes in there and they look fantastic when you do. Whether it's needed here or not, I don't know. I might do it on a couple just to show you what it looks like. But I think I'm happy with that. I think that'll do. It's all very red looking. These background bits here can go a bit darker. They don't need to be so clean and bright. Just washing my brush out there. Right, so I'll go back in with the liner. And we'll pick this one here because it's in the middle. So I normally, in the petal here, I would normally just go into the center and then out, and then bring them around from the center. It'll finish them off nicely and it'll make it look like you've done so much work, and you have, because this is not a project for the faint-hearted, mind you. It's actually quite a hefty sort of project because of all the liner work in it. If you've painted it or done it with the brush markers, you won't get this finer line, unfortunately, with those. But if you're brave enough to pick up a liner brush to do it, just make sure you've got an inky consistency so that it flows and you're getting that really, see, that sort of finished it off in there. So it looks like it's more cared for. And I'll probably go over this before I get this book to its owner. I'll probably go over and do this on each of them anyway, just so that it's well finished. I'll do some little strokes on the roses as well. The brush is not painting here. What's going on? Oh, too many globs. When you're using paint with a liner brush, just make sure that you flatten it out on your palette so that you don't have those globs, because it's not moving. Need some more medium. That's what happens when you don't have enough water on your brush or fluid on your brush. You just don't get very far at all when you're using a liner brush, particularly. It's just some more. I have to do a few more now. Right, I think I'm going to have to paint some roses. I've got some orders, so I've got to, what I normally do with my orders is I send them all off in a hand-painted envelope. And it takes me ages to do them, but I feel it's just a nice little touch too. You know, a little gift for people who purchased from my shop. Just some little extra nicety. Just trying to get the right amount of fluid on my brush here. All right, so I'll keep doing that, but basically that's what I've done with this page. As I said earlier, I'm going to be finishing off all the pages at some point. It's just a matter of thinking about the ideas to put in the book so that they kind of work in with each other. So yeah, I'll finish off with this video, and the next one that I'm going to do is a little interlude, and just going to show you what I've come up with as far as the buckle option. I was really not impressed when I cannot locate any decent buckles now. You know, people are onto me, they're onto it, so they're hiding them from me. So I'm just making my own, and I just want to take you through what I've done and see what you think. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. And yeah, please feel free to leave me comments and subscribe if you would like to. And I'll be back shortly with a new video.